All right, 68 degrees Fahrenheit to a 210, so 210,012 miles on the odometer. It is March 19th, 2024, and I want to talk about corruption, okay? So we know corruption has always gone up to very high authority figures, okay? We have authority figures in our society, and we know for a fact, because of history, that there has been corruption within political aspects of things. One moment, I'm cleaning my glasses. Okay, so we know there's corruption. I don't want to get into all the legalistic things about legalism and why people get killed because of corruption and why people maybe could get, I don't think they can get saved per se, but first, Jesus Christ was legally killed by law, by Roman law, and it was the highest form of corruption so that we could be here today. All right, and he went through corruption and sin and became sin, and that's why we're here today. But corruption comes from the heart. When you willingly twist things to your advantage to hurt other people, that's a form of corruption, and it goes all the way up. Now, what we're dealing with in our society today is what I call blind corruption, because we can't see it. The reason I'm talking about this is because a cat named Crook is about corruption. It's an analyzation of corruption. It's a story of corruption. It's about what corruption is and the way corruption affects. Okay, if we look at Blue Velvet, it's a neo-noir. There is corruption represented, a demonic, otherworldly corruption. Maybe you could say that. If we look at Twin Peaks, there's a form of corruption. Lynch talks about corruption. He also talks about how it's otherworldly or demonic, right? And now as believers, we believe that a third of the dominion fell to join forces with a corrupt God, who they even made a movie about him. You go down a certain time, you would go down Hollywood Boulevard and there'd be a billboard of his name. It started with an L. And it's not Louis Offer, who's a YouTuber, all right? Who I also watch and thinks he's got some heart, okay? And his dog Suki. What I mean by corruption is not necessarily on the outside, but it's in the heart. It's not something that looks corrupt always, but it's something in the heart. It's derived by motivation. And when things are twisted and people do not show mercy, that's corruption. Now, what is Satanism? Well, I'm going to mention Richard Ramirez because, for one thing, Sun Kill Moon did a song about him called Richard Ramirez Died Today of Natural Causes, and there's a reason that song is out there today, and there's a reason why what happened is because he told the media, after he committed his 15 horrible crimes, or maybe even more, or the worst crimes ever, or one of them, they're pretty bad, he said, I can tell you about Satanism and its true power without charity. That's what he said. He said it's power without charity. So charity, you can say, is love. You can say charity is also mercy, right? And you could definitely say that Richard Ramirez is definitely chief of sinners, right? One of the chief of sinners. Who wrote all this stuff that I'm talking about that comes from Corinthians and the New Testament? I'll tell you who wrote it. Someone that was very much just like Richard Ramirez, if not worse. The chief of sinners, Apostle Paul, who became Paul. He was once Saul and held the coat of Stephen, who was an apostle and also a saint, so that he could be killed over legalism. Now, I want to go back and I want to say one thing about all this, that if you show no mercy and you use legalism to kill or hurt other people, you will be up in line for hellfire. So you should get on your knees and ask for forgiveness. You cannot use legalism to go after the innocent, even though that's the way it is, you say, because you will end up murdering and being a murderer, just like Saul, just like Ramirez, but they do it every day with legalism. They show no mercy. They don't turn the other cheek and walk away. Some people get the turn the cheek mixed. The thing about the Bible is they get it mixed up. They say turn the other cheek is offer up the other cheek. That's what they'll say to you. Turn the other cheek means look away. It means avoid the fight. Okay? Don't even try to get hit and then have to offer up the other cheek. Turn the other cheek means look away. You ever heard the song in the Civil War? Look away, look away. That they use the word look away. Well, it's there for a reason. Now, you'll have your own interpretation. I have mine. But it's all being studied for A Cat Named Crook, which is an independent film that I'm working on, writing the screenplay for, using all these different, drawing all these different ideas from corruption, and somewhat of kind of comedy, okay? But the reason it's a comedy is very important. Now, Lolita by Stanley Kubrick was a comedy as well, but yet hit upon serious things about Roman Empire and all this stuff, because the film that Kubrick did before that was Spartacus, okay? What it means is that you can tell a message. The reason why narrative is sometimes more powerful than documentary is because a narrative can even be funny and tell a message. It can have a hidden message in there and speak to many. Charlie Chaplin did it too with The Great Dictator, right? Because we don't want that to ever happen to Israel, right? We don't want an innocent place like that to ever get hurt again, right? Just like we don't want 9/11 to happen. That's why I don't want to live in New York. It scared me to see 3,000 people fall from a building. That was corruption at its high. It's according to the United States American soil, that was the worst crime ever committed on our soil, and that happened on September 11th, 2001. I witnessed it. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that we don't want to go after people for certain reasons when we know in our heart that could really hurt someone and even maybe end their life. We don't want to do that because that's where power gets involved, corruption, and that's what the enemy wants. That's not what God wants. God wants love, mercy. He wants mercy, mercy. He's the ideal of forgiveness, which is mercy. Show mercy. All right, so there's forgiveness and love. That's what Jesus is about. All right, 5/12/6 2.7. First delivery for the day. It's interesting. Map's way off. Usually it's not that off. There has been a few otherworldly things that have happened. Now, Linda has noticed some things moved around the apartment or had fallen from a bookshelf. I had moved the bookshelf before, but there was a photo or a painting that fell off the wall one time when I came back from, I think, doing Grubhub when I first moved there. I thought it was very strange. And the neighbor had already moved. This was before Linda got there. But I'm 100% sure that there is an otherworldly. So we don't see it. And there's a parallel universe. Some call it Shadowlands. I think C.S. Lewis called it a Shadowland. Netflix, Stranger Things calls it the what do they call it? The others, not the flip side, but it means the flip side. There we go. It's right here. Everybody has a different name for it, but a lot of stories use it. It's like a parallel, hidden shadow world kind of thing. Shadowland. Maybe the upside down. They call it the upside down. Yeah, Cameron Crowe worked on a story called Almost Famous for, it was like 30 years or something. He can tell you the real amount of time. It went through all these different changes before it actually became a movie, and all these different, it was going to be a documentary and all this stuff. And I think it's one of her great films. Maybe even could be on a top 100 list, you know? I mean, I gotta admit, because of the casting and all the movie stars and everything that was about it, it is a little Hollywood, it's a little commercial, I'm not gonna lie. But it broke out of there, came out of nowhere right when I left for Hollywood. I'd already seen Fight Club. I might have seen Almost Famous at the movie theater. I saw a lot of movies. The summer I took geoscience, which is known as earth science, from the UNT and graduated that Christmas. Well, I actually officially graduated in the summer of 2000. Then June, July, August, so September, October, November, December was the ceremony. Then I waited for the ceremony. I got the robe and all that stuff, walked across, got my bachelor's, and then started saving up money to send to Paradise Gardens in Long Beach, California, where I substituted for a long time, like it was, 4 or 5 months or so. I don't know. Maybe I substituted just for a semester. I don't really mean. It felt like a pretty long time. Well, it wasn't too long. I guess that's not too long, but it depends on what you think long is. And I ended up being a substitute for like 6 years later on. I was a teacher for only one semester. But before I left to Hollywood in 2000, end of December 2000, and then I arrived there in December of 2000. I guess the same month of the graduation. I was already ready to go when I even had that robe. I had packed everything in my sister's white Camaro. It was a leased Camaro, brand new, and drove a bunch of books and clothing all the way to Long Beach, California. Moved into Paradise Gardens on North Atlantic, right next to the high school. And that all happened in December of 2000. Then I witnessed 9/11, September 11th in New York, because I only stayed in Hollywood for 9 months. Then I went to New York and I spent roughly about a year there, because I went back and auditioned for The Restaurant, which was a thing for NBC that was only a couple seasons or one season or something like that, with a guy named Rocco Spirito. But going all the way back, Fight Club. I remember seeing Fight Club, and then I remember I might have saw Almost Famous. It was Cameron Crowe, but I did remember my cousin who moved in Compton Place, a place in Compton, not far from Long Beach. It had come on television, and I remember seeing Billy Crudup. That was his name, Crudup, and seeing the scene where he jumps off the roof, says "I'm the Sun King," and the whole Cameron Crowe moment. It really did work that year, you know. It really did make you feel what it was like to be Almost Famous. But what I really liked was months before Jesus' Son had come out, and that movie was, I thought, way better, and that was with Billy Crudup, where he played FH. Later on, when I would get to New York, I would sit through a play reading of that author. I can't think of his name, but he was the one that wrote Jesus' Son. He did a play reading at the KGB bar in New York, right outside of Soho. It was pretty cool because he wrote Jesus' Son, which I thought was a better movie than Almost Famous. You know what I mean? You see the difference? You know, Jesus' Son and then Almost Famous. But Almost Famous is really good because of the soundtrack. And plus, Cameron Crowe made people famous. That's where Red House Painters were known. That's where Mark Kozalik got his start. And then eventually Sun Kill Moon was birthed out of that, probably that movie, pretty much. Eight 435 2.3. All right, so Mike Tyson this July. Now, I've read he's coming to Arlington, Texas. I've also read Dallas, but I think it's Arlington because I figure it was going to be the AT&T Cowboy Stadium or the AT&T Stadium. He's going to fight some YouTuber named Paul something, some boxer. This white dude wants to... I hope he doesn't kill him, but... now, I understand if it was like maybe Holyfield or, you know, even Muhammad Ali, but you don't want to like pretend fight Tyson, you know. You might accidentally bite your ear off or something, you know, but he's gonna try to do it. It's expedition fight. You know like in Rocky 3, I think it was Rocky 3, they do an expedition fight and Creed comes out. I don't think it's Rocky 2. I have to, for some reason I've been getting my Rockies mixed up. Anyway, in one of the Rockies, it's all basically the same movie. There's a moment in the Rocky saga, we'll just put it that way, where Apollo Creed has like an expedition fight. And I want to say it might be the Mr. T fight. I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure. I have to double check. But anyway, he does fight Mr. T in the beginning. And, or is it Creed? No. I think he fights Apollo Creed. And it basically, let's see, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Okay, wait, I got it all mixed up. It's Rocky 4 I'm getting mixed up, because that's the Russian. Okay. In Rocky 3, Apollo Creed is either in the audience, but Rocky fights Mr. T. Right. Okay, yeah, I got it. Because he fights him in the first one, they tie. And then he beats Apollo Creed in the second one. The third one, in the very beginning of the movie, Mr. T fights Rocky Balboa and nearly kills him. It's like a big time boxing match. He hits him pretty hard. Nearly kills Rocky Balboa. So Rocky Balboa hooks up with Apollo Creed to learn the Eye of the Tiger. And then he goes back and beats Mr. T. That's number 3. That was a big Rocky. That was kind of got everybody in the Rocky saga, okay? Or whatever you want to call it. Then Rocky 4, the Russian comes in on an expedition fight and fights Apollo Creed and kills him. So then Rocky has to go to Russia and train in the winter, snow, and learn how to beat the Russian. Okay, now I got it straight. And then Rocky 5, man, I lose contact with all of it. Something happens in Rocky 5, I don't know. I go as far as Rocky 4, like most people born in the 70s. And that's the Russian and all that kind of stuff. We got that part. After that, a little bit of knowledge on Rocky 5, but don't ask me anything after that. Now I'm getting it straight. You got to get the Rocky straight to kind of get things under control in the memory system. Well, oh well. This is where I went to prom and did a Mardi Gras thing where I dressed up like a mime. All right, and then I come back. Let's see. Yeah, it was probably right in here. I come back to this place. It's 2015, nearly, let's see, 95, 2005, 20, let's see, 2005, 2000, 20-something years. 1995 to 2005 is 10, 2015, almost 30 years later. Oh, alcohol. Yeah, it was right in there. That's where the prom was, and where I did a mime show in college. We had a red carpet theater group. I'm way off, I think. Let me see. Oh yeah, there's one here. Yeah, I don't think this is the same. I'll find out. It was right in there. Right through there. Things like a fortress. Yeah, we were running around here like mimes back in like maybe mid-90s. It was like the mid-90s. For a thing called the Red Carpet Theater Group. The president of that has actually passed away. I was the vice president. So we were like a mime group that went to different areas. They were doing a night of Mardi Gras, and we showed up as mimes. And man, the only one that could do it really was David Yeagle, because we ran around. David Yeagle actually took to one area. But he did do mime on downtown area of Fort Worth and left in handcuffs. This was a long time ago. That was a rumor, I don't know for sure, but that's what I heard. And he would like stand in like one little area and do it, let people pass him. So he'd catch his breath. We were out of breath after like 15 minutes. We're about passing out and stuff. We had to do like 4 hours of mime. It was an incredible amount of energy. Cozy on down, Downtown Ritual Happy Hour, Bottomless Brunch, and local live music right here. It's cute. A little Renaissance. Holy the trolley. The trolley's called Holy. It's pretty interesting. So back in the day, I'd say like mid-90s or so, maybe a little around that time, that was a movie theater, I think AMC or something, and it was right here. Also at the top, Caravan of Dreams and Theater Stage, and also or Texas Stage and then Stage West was there for a while. That's where they did Fences, a really good production of Fences. Back in the 90s, I auditioned for the Diviners there. Never worked with Russell until school, until Wesleyan. And then he cast me in P.J. Barry play called Jump the Train at River Point. It required nudity, so I think that's probably, I might have dropped out. They weren't really paying me a whole lot. It was mostly just credit. I dropped out eventually, just ran off to Chicago, and then eventually came back, re-enrolled, and then eventually transferred to UNT and graduated that way. There's too much drama at Wesleyan. It was a good school, though, don't get me wrong. They had good acting classes, but there seemed to be something mysterious in the air there that caused some issues. It's probably a God thing, you know. Those that believe would understand. Ooh, dueling piano bar right here. You know, the word crazy can be like a very harmful word to use. Because what it does when you use the word crazy, it's an easy way out of a person's character and can cause kind of witch hunt style kind of stuff when you say the word crazy, you know. You're basically calling someone a fool, and it says in the Bible that that's an evil thing to do. So when you just simply call someone crazy, you're actually sinning against God. And there was a lot of that going on, so I moved on. I didn't get a whole lot of that at UNT. I did get from the same type of crowd, not from everyone at UNT, because I did graduate from UNT. There was kind of a questioning, and it didn't go any further than that, you know. But there was certain crowds at UNT that, you know, you had to be careful and just kind of ignore and then get through it so I could finally get the degree that I sought out to get, which I finally did get. And I started off in 93 and then finally received it in 2000, but I had to take some time off in between. And that journey of going from 1993 to 2000 to get a Bachelor of Arts, which is what I have, was quite the fight, because I had the intelligence all along, but there was a lot of harm done by the evil people. I'm not blaming any certain type of group. I'm not blaming the Catholic Church. I'm not blaming atheists and all this kind of stuff. I'm not blaming any certain type of people. But people know when they can bully. And you can convince someone, you can try to convince someone that they're not intelligent. But once you convince yourself that you have intelligence, then you start to understand education, because education changes. So that means the things that you learned 20 years ago are not always still valid. What you learn to do in higher education is you learn to think for yourself, and you build that confidence through muscle and through memory and through gaining knowledge, right? There's a muscle that you work inside the mind that you work over and over until it starts to gain knowledge. And all of that is connected to God, in my opinion. That's where the knowledge comes from. It doesn't necessarily come from a book. But they have said that certain writers are prophetic. So anyway, 904 5 2.4. And you also learn that knowledge can defend you. You can have defense and knowledge, right? So let's say animals, for an example. They sometimes are, well, in a lot of cases, animals are stronger. In many cases, they're very fit. and they're very quick, and in many cases they're very dangerous, right? They're very fleshy and dangerous. But you can prevent yourself from being harmed by an animal, and we've done it for many years, by being wiser and more strategic, and you can overcome an animal, right? So when you're bullied for whatever reason, you can overcome it, you know, with confidence and keeping your head up. You know, what I'm trying to say is there are animals out there, I would say. You know, there are people out there that they have no respect for human life, right? And then you do that by acting Christ-like, by acting like Christ. That's an educated decision, you know, by turning the other cheek and finding something creative to do, right? And if they don't like it, then that's their problem, you know. You can continue on. Because listen, this medium, it's pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful medium. And you get really good at it, then you start calling the shots on how you want to do it, you know, the style and the people you want to use and the people that want to, you know, hang out with you and help you do it, right? And that's intelligence. But you learn that through God. God will provide you the knowledge so that you will be able to do that. He provided all the greats that, and they don't have to brag about it, because it's not, you don't want to brag about it, you know. You just want to know that it's there and that you can seek him for guidance. All right, looks like we're going to the palm readers. And what I always say is, it's in the basement, Pee-wee. In the basement of the Alamo. So if you're going to find your bike, it'll be in the basement. The basement of the Alamo. The Alamo. But anyway, if you check them out, they're 817-921-1423. I personally don't really, but, you know, everyone's got their own thing that they do. All right, yeah, it's pretty nice. Something that smells like sage or something, but something to do with pepper plates. I thought it was like Plates peppers. It said one pepper and Plates, which is actually not anything Italian. It's actually English for plates. It's how my mind works sometimes, you know. There's no such thing as a Plates pepper. But I asked them about it, and that's what they said. I was like, what is this? And he just says, plates and paper. He meant to say plates, and I didn't know what plates was. Plates is plates. Just how. Anyway, it's a thing. They're pretty nice. They're not too crazy. There's Paul's Donuts. But anyway, didn't do like a palm reading or anything. But I had met a palm reader when I was out in Ohio, in Gambier, at Kenyon College. And she had talked a little bit about astrology and stuff like that. And it's all these like things you study and how they do it. It really has to do with on your belief system. I don't know. I think the reason why I never took it serious was because one of my aunts was real crazy about it and actually would go do it, and we kind of laugh at her. It was something I did. It's like, it's kind of, I hate to say it, but sometimes wealthier people, and I'm not saying that poor people don't do it either, but it's sometimes people either middle class or wealthier, or they're eccentric, or they're kind of eccentric person. But I'm not going to say crazy. I'm not saying crazy because I said it earlier. That's not for the crazies. I'm not saying that. Remember, don't use that word. But I don't know, you know, the Ouija board and throwing down the tarot cards. I don't know if she does the Ouija board, but why not, you know? But yeah, Ouija board, yeah, come back next week. I'll have it down. Yeah. I don't know. I do have Ouija board by Morrissey, though. Ouija board, the song. And that, believe it or not, that album, it's the vinyl album, is the most common thing that falls down in the apartment. I'm not lying. I found it several feet from the bookshelf. I am not lying at all. That thing flies around the apartment. It should be investigated. It's got Scotch tape on it, trying to keep the vinyl record inside of it. I have a vinyl record of Ouija board by Morrissey. And then November Spawn a Monster. Correction, it's a vinyl single Ouija board. I believe on the B-side is something about something blind. Yes, I'm blind and I see the evil people, all that stuff. That's on the B-side of Ouija board. It's a single B-side, I guess they just call it a single. But it is on the album too, I believe. It might be, I think so. But it's a single album record. And I don't own a record player yet, but I might buy one. You know, if you call it crime, it could be in any direction. But when it comes to corruption because of power, it's going to come from above, right? With the people that have more money, because unless it flips and the chain breaks, right? Then you know the difference. Because if you're hoarding, I don't know, $1 billion, which that's what you would be doing, is hoarding $1 billion, or hoarding any amount of a great amount of money, then, you know, it clearly says not to do that, because there's other people out there that need it. You know, that's why I leave my PayPal, because charity is the only way. It's the only way. Charity is. It's connected to love, and it's the same thing, and it's the only way. You know? And people, they only get so many chances, because their billions of dollars that are hoarded will not go with them to the grave. And sometimes they even give them to their pets, but, you know, it must be a nice dog or... Well, another night of delivery. It's time to head back and see Linda and Kitty.
That touched the light a little bit.
Hey, give me a kissy. There's Kitty. Good to go. So basically, she's talking to a corrupt towing company out of Fort Worth. They're known as like Tarrant County. They work with other authority figures to basically illegally tow people. Basically, what they're doing is they're trying to tow residents for different reasons. They keep changing the rules and regulations to try to do it. We've been dealing with them for a while. I asked her not to send any information to the company. And I told the lady if she didn't end the phone call on her end, we're going to get lawyers and sue them. It's a corrupt company.